There are characters who want power, others want revenge, others want to save the world, but there is one who only wants to feel pleasure, not power, not money, not glory, pleasure. The pleasure of facing someone strong, the pleasure of mentally breaking his opponent, the pleasure of watching someone with potential finally become worthy of dying by his hands. That character is Hisoka Moro. And today, we're going to talk about something far more interesting than his fights. We're going to talk about his mind. Because Hisoka is not simply a villain, he is a psychological predator. And the way he sees life is far more disturbing than it seems. To understand Hisoka, you need to understand one thing. Hisoka doesn't fight out of hatred. He doesn't fight for justice. He doesn't even fight for pride. Hisoka fights for pleasure. To him, strong people are like fruits. Yes, fruits. And he explains this idea quite clearly himself. A green fruit isn't worth eating. It has no flavor. But a ripe fruit is perfect. That's why Hisoka does something very strange. When he finds someone with potential, he doesn't kill them. He lets them live. He lets them grow. He watches them. And he waits. Because for Hisoka, true satisfaction is not in killing. It's in destroying something that has already reached its full potential. Hisoka is not a normal killer. He is a hunter. But he doesn't hunt out of necessity. He hunts for entertainment. Every person he meets goes through an invisible process. Hisoka analyzes them. He observes them. He measures them, their talent, their potential, their mentality. And within seconds, he decides one thing. Whether that person is a green fruit or a fruit that will one day be delicious. That's why he lets characters like Gon Freakses live, because to him, killing him now would be wasting a future masterpiece. It would be like destroying wine before it has aged. Many people believe Hisoka is simply insane, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Hisoka is probably one of the most intelligent characters in the entire series. He can read emotions just by observing the smallest reaction. He detects lies. He analyzes behavior, he predicts decisions, and, most dangerously, he can manipulate complex situations in seconds. He doesn't manipulate fools, he manipulates geniuses, which means his mind is always several steps ahead. But here's the interesting part. All of that intelligence is controlled by something extremely dangerous, his impulses. Hisoka's life is guided by a single rule. Feel pleasure. It doesn't matter how risky it is. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. It doesn't matter what the consequences are. If something excites him, he will do it. And that makes him incredibly unpredictable. Because most people make decisions based on logic, but Hisoka makes decisions based on desire. And that breaks any system of prediction. It's like trying to anticipate the movements of someone who enjoys walking directly toward danger. If there is one thing that defines Hisoka, it is obsession. When he finds someone interesting, his entire mind locks onto that person. Time doesn't matter, effort doesn't matter, risk doesn't matter. His goal is to experience the perfect fight. And that obsession eventually led him to something almost no one expected. His greatest mistake. Hisoka finally gets the fight he has been waiting for, against one of the most dangerous characters in the series. Crollo Lucilfer. But something very interesting happens here. Hisoka decides to give his opponent every possible advantage. He lets him choose the location. He lets him choose the moment. He lets him choose the conditions. Why? Because he wants the fight to be perfect. He wants to feel the maximum possible pleasure. But that desire leads directly to his defeat. Hisoka dies, literally. And that moment changes everything. After dying, Hisoka realizes something. His obsession made him do something incredibly stupid. He had been too arrogant, too impulsive, too confident. And for the first time, he learns. Not because someone teaches him, not because someone morally defeats him, but because he understands it himself. And from that moment, a new version of Hisoka is born. A colder version. A more direct version, a far more dangerous version. Now, Hisoka no longer waits for the fruit to ripen. Now, he simply rips it off the tree. There are many villains in anime, but Hisoka is different. Because he doesn't want to rule the world. He doesn't want power. He doesn't want wealth. He doesn't even want recognition. The only thing he wants is to feel something. Emotion, intensity, adrenaline. Hisoka lives in a world where everything feels boring, and the only people capable of giving him excitement are monsters. That's why he searches for them. That's why he lets them live. And that's why, when he finally faces them, he enjoys it more than anyone else. Because for Hisoka, life only has meaning if the fight is interesting.